This podcast is brought to you by sleepyj.com/beats. If you need a beat for your next album, mixtape, or demo project, check out sleepyj.com/beats. That's sleepej.com/beats. Warning, this podcast may offend some people unintentionally. So if you get offended easily, you are advised to turn off now. And if you're still here listening, thanks and enjoy the show. What's up with the world? It's your boy Sleepy J. You tune in to Sleep Talkin. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. Thank you for checking me out. I want to start out by saying I am sorry for not having an uploaded episode yesterday. Today is Wednesday, August 1st. I know I was supposed to upload Tuesday, July 31st, but I had some technical difficulties that allowed me not to record, and I apologize for that. But with all that out of the way, I don't know how long today's episode is going to be. I do have some things I want to talk about for you. I'm going to try and make it work for you guys. Yeah. Anyhow, with all that being said, let's just get into this week's episode. I first just want to do a congratulations for the Georgia Police Department that fired those officers that did the coin flip for the person they pulled over. If you guys don't know, a couple weeks ago, I think I said it was the wrong policing state or whatever, but I did mention a few weeks ago there was an officer that pulled the young lady over. She was in the back seat of the car, and she wound up getting charged, or I don't know if they actually charged her, but she got a ticketing for whatever was determined by a coin flip app that these two officers had did. Like, they were like, okay, we're going to give her 23 miles over the speed limit and this and that if it's on heads. And if it's on tails, we're going to give her this. So they did a coin flip app to determine what she was getting. They wrote down all of it. It was all on camera. Pretty fucking stupid. But without that being said, Georgia said, you know what, we can't be having our officers do that, so I want to give them a congratulations for that. It's not the best, it's not fixing all the wrongs that the police are doing these days, but it's a head in the right direction. So I want to give them their congratulations, and we appreciate all that. Let's see. Most of what I want to talk about this week is about music stuff, so I will get into it. But before we get into it, just because I want to stretch this out a little bit more, because I know once I get into this music, it's not going to go much. It's going to go a lot faster than what I want. How many of you guys have been watching Power? If you guys don't watch Power, I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite shows on TV right now, and it's perfect because if you haven't been watching it, you have 4.5 seasons to watch to catch up to what's going on. And we're in season 5, halfway through it, and all the fun stuff's about to happen. I'm just bringing it up because Kendrick Lamar was in this episode, and Kendrick Lamar plays this crackhead. He sounds like he does when he's rapping, talks really fast and everything like that. But I thought he was a funny character. Something that I didn't expect him to be. Like, I expected him to probably do a guest appearance as like the gangster from out of town that shows up, fucks shit up, and then leaves, or is going to be in for a few episodes. That wasn't the case. If you watched it, you know he's a crackhead in this episode. I'm not going to give any details to what happened in the whole, this season or in this episode. But I do want to say my prediction for this season, where it's going to go, it's got to go a couple ways. I think Tommy's going to realize that his dad is trying to set him up, so he's going to have to kill him. Or he's going to get set up by his dad to be killed, and then Ghost is going to save him in the last minute like he's done several times in the previous, proving that he's really down for Tommy. I'm not really sure how it's going to work out. I haven't really figured it out, but I do know we're getting ready to be in episode 6 of the season, so it's going to start picking up from here. Like, the plot has been building to this point to get you guys excited for the next season, if they're going to do another season or end this series. So watching it, my predictions, I think Ghost is going to have to save Tommy, time he's gonna have to save Ghost. It's typically how they go. Tasha might go down for the murder of her daughter, not for murdering her daughter, but for covering up for the murder. Ghost might get implicated in that too. I don't know how that's gonna work out, but I'm thinking she's gonna take this charge for her son. If you guys been watching, you guys know what happened. I'm not gonna go into all the details for that. But I see that one unfortunately playing out in a bad way right now. Maybe Angela's gonna go down by the end of the season for doing some questionable actions as her role as a district attorney, I think she is, for the feds. I'm not really sure how that is. But yeah, so those are my light predictions as far as for what's going on for Power by the end of this season. How many of you guys watch Orange is the New Black, the new season? I binge watched most of it through one day because I don't have a life. No. But no, I really enjoyed this season. It was a little bit darker than I expected it to be. Orange is a weird series if you guys don't watch it, because I feel like the very first few episodes of season 1 were really dark. They weren't really funny. Then they got into a flow of things. They were pretty funny after that. And they kind of go through this up and down roller coaster with you. Like sometimes it's really dark and it's like, oh, this is really sad and depressing. Then it gets a little bit lighthearted, gets funnier or whatever. But I think the last 2 seasons were more drama filled than comedy filled. In my opinion, there's a few funny moments here and there, but it was pretty drama filled with like the storyline being so heavy. This season, I think it was a little bit lighter than the last season or 2, but it's definitely pretty good. I liked it. I liked the new additions to the cast that they had. Amanda Fuller, who is probably most known for her role in Last Man Standing, like killed it. I have a new appreciation for her acting skills. Just because on Last Man Standing, she's like the family girl, funny, lighthearted type of person, and in this, she was kind of like, I guess I'd call her a psycho bitch, because she had just like this really dark sense of humor type of thing. She was always kind of pushing the envelope and being kind of a dick to everybody, really. Also, speaking of people's acting, if you guys don't know who Amari Hardrick is, he's the guy that plays Ghost in Power. And in season 5, this new season that's playing right now, like the first episode, whenever he hemmed up his son for last season, he obviously they're dealing with this death of his daughter or whatever this season, so everyone's kind of upset. Obviously, if you've been watching, not obviously if you haven't been, but he hems up his son in an argument, and in that moment, like, I have this thing when you're watching stuff and you get lost in the moment because the acting is so good. Like, his acting was so good when he hemmed up his son, was like, keep messing with me and it's your fault that this happened type thing. Like, I had that belief that he actually was hemming somebody up, mostly his son, for the death of his daughter, and I genuinely believed him in that moment. It was just like really good acting. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I definitely suggest you guys go watch these episodes and see what I'm talking about, as far as for how well they show their range in acting. Amari Hardwick is a good actor in general. I like him in everything I've seen him in, but like I said, that really shows an emotion that I don't think everyone can really tap into, especially if you haven't gone through something like that. So I just think that was really good episodes, really good acting from those people, and things of that nature. And let's see here. Just want to give you guys an update what I've been up to, aside from watching Power. I recently got a book from Audible, because that's the way I digest my books, because, well, I don't have time to sit down and read. I listen to books while I'm at work or driving or whatever, and I was on the road recently in Dallas, as you guys know from last week's episode. If you guys haven't checked that out, had my cousin Rudy, the VP of VMP. If you guys don't know what VMP is, it's Valdes Spino Music Productions. It's my record company. He's my VP. He kind of helps me run my business as much as he can from afar. I'm looking into relocating closer so that way we can do things more, build out this company a little bit more faster, picking up artists and doing more placement deals and things like that. So I'm really looking into relocating for those purposes. But we just kind of shot the shit last episode. We talked about music, we talked about sports, and kind of did what we do. We normally just talk shit, and that's what we kind of did last episode. So if you haven't seen that one, or if you haven't listened to that one, check that one out. But where was I going? Oh, I picked up this book on Audible called A Country We Love, Family Divided by Diane Guerro. She was in Orange is the New Black. She wasn't in this season, but she's in all the other seasons. I think she plays Maritza Ramos on it, or the pretty Latin girl that's on there. If you watch it, you know who she is. If you don't, when you do watch it, you'll figure out who she is. But I picked it up mostly because I follow a lot of the girls from Orange is the New Black, and I like to read. If I'm not reading self-help books, I'm probably reading memoirs from people that put them out. And in this case, I picked hers up because I just wanted to see what it was about. This isn't an advertisement for Audible, but the great thing about Audible is if you do pick up a book you don't like, tell them you don't like it, they give you your money back. You can get another book or whatever you want to do. That's why I actually picked it up, because I figured if it was stupid, I wouldn't keep it. I'd just get my money back. But I like the book. Suggest you guys read it, because you wouldn't, if you watch her show, like if you watch Orange is the New Black, you probably wouldn't think that she's a girl that's gone through a whole lot of tribulations or hardships, but she really has. I didn't really think that she had ever, to the extreme that she did. Her family has gone through a lot, and just the short of the book is, it's a book about how she grew up without her parents from the age 14. Not like they were dead or anything, but they were here illegally. She was a natural born citizen, so she wasn't deported, but her parents got deported when she was like 14. She had to bounce around at a young age trying to figure out how to get around and be here without her parents. And in New York, of all places, which from my understanding is a very fast-paced city, and I'm sure it was even harder then. But she was staying with friends and family as much as she could throughout the years, and eventually it just was, brought her down. She had some mental issues she had to work through, and things like that. So it's just a very, it's inspiring if you're going through hard times. You can see that someone else has gone through hard times and has done something well with themselves, despite it. It's a book about mental awareness or mental health awareness. It's a book about immigration reform. So if these are things you're interested in, I highly recommend this book. I liked it. Like I said, it was a different insight to it, to her and her struggles. And like I said, I didn't know some of the things that I heard in the book. I wouldn't have expected it. The mental health issues that she eventually developed and had to work through. When I see her on TV, I think of her as a happy person. So to see her go through that, I think is crazy. And like I said, her family, I think there's a part in the book where they talk about her dad. Like his whole family died whenever he was like 14. So it's just like there's a lot of tragedy and a lot of overcoming in it. If you can, listen to it or read it and get through those moments, like you just see like everybody goes through hard times, even some of the most successful people in the world. That's one of the most recent books. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I also read The Mother of Black Hollywood, Jennifer Lewis. I read that one a few weeks ago, which was a really good book. I really read that one because she was from St. Louis, and it's always fun to listen to people from the city that you're from or live in, and you can listen to it and like, oh, I know what they're talking about. I know that stuff. I know. So for me, I listened to it for that purpose. I didn't know she was from Kenlock, St. Louis, Missouri, but listening to her journey was a good story too. And a lot of it was interesting. I have to revisit the episode to talk about it, but I'll probably get into it. I have a lot of these ideas, and I write them down, and I don't necessarily always get to them. And with hers, I remember in her book, she talked about like finding out about AIDS in the acting community as far as for Broadway theater, and how it like ruined a lot of people or ruined a lot of lives or whatever, and they didn't really know what it was, because obviously this predates the 80s, before we called it AIDS and things like that. They called it super pneumonia. And it was interesting because I remember her talking about that in her book. Then I had watched that TV show Glow, and in Glow they talked about one of the guys, I think he was like the rich investor's butler, and he found out that his butler was gay, which I guess he didn't know, and then he kind of like got all weirded out by it. And as the show goes on, like his butler winds up dying. He finds out that he has this super pneumonia, and he like goes on this whole tangent about like having the house bleached from top to bottom, not to get anything, And I think it's weird because, again, I think I did mention this before now that I'm talking about it again, but during the AIDS epidemic, and they didn't really know how AIDS spread or whatever, like people were that weird about it. And in Jennifer Lewis's book, she talked about her friend having AIDS, and she went and visited him, and her mom was like, don't touch him, put gloves on and whatever. But she touched him with her bare hands, and he was like, you're the first person to touch me in 2 years. And it's just weird to me because I grew up in a time where AIDS was, obviously it was a thing, but it wasn't a thing where we were afraid of it. Like, you can't drink out of water fountains, you can't have them in the same room as you can't touch them type thing. Like, we knew like, hey, if you see blood, you don't want to, mix your blood with it, things like that. Not like, oh yeah, we don't want to touch you because of this and that. I just find it really weird that this was a thing then, because I think even then I probably would have been like, I wash my hands, I'll be good, because I grew up in a time where hygiene was just like, as long as you have good hygiene, you clean up, you're gonna be okay. And I probably wouldn't have thought about it personally. I'm not that big of a germaphobe. I'm a borderline germaphobe on some things, but not like that. Like, if I'm around someone that's sick or whatever, I wash my hands a little bit more to try and be clean. If I'm sick, I wash my hands a little bit more to try and keep from spreading my germs type thing. That's what I mean. But anyways, I found that interesting in that book, just to see how people dealt with AIDS and to see how people dealt with them. And even in this show that's supposed to take place in the late 80s or early 80s, late 70s type thing, I thought that was interesting. I found the link in that to be consistent. I don't know why I really went on to that tangent, to be honest with you. Back to me saying like the things that cross my mind and I want to talk about. Also things that like, so that was one thing I want to talk about. So I don't know if I talked about it in the past, but that's why I wanted to bring that up. Also, recently there's, I see these people in media, and they're constantly like backtracking or trying to like, I didn't mean that, I didn't say it for that or whatever. And I find it interesting, because I put a warning before this podcast because I'm not intending to offend people. I'm just talking, letting thoughts free go through, like free flow. So I'm not really worried about it. I'm not thinking about things as I'm doing it. I'm just kind of talking, working thoughts out and things of that nature. And I don't know how that goes. I don't know how it's going to come across. It could be offensive and whatnot. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. So, one second. Yeah. So I'm not trying to offend people. I'm just letting the free thoughts flow, working things out as I'm talking to you guys. So that's why that warning is there. But at the same time, I know people that are talking, and when they do things, they say things they don't necessarily, it comes off offensive. They're trying to work through it. They don't necessarily word it properly. So I'm just always curious to see how these celebrities bounce back from saying something that maybe they said when they were younger. Now that they're older, they don't believe that, or whatever the case is. And it's just a real touchy situation nowadays, I think, because people are always like offended by everything. And as I go on my tangents all the times, if something does offend you or you don't like what someone says or their beliefs, you just change the channel, ignore them, move on, keep going. I don't really think that you should have to apologize for every comment, everything that you do. Even if you do have like trash ass thoughts, maybe you are a racist or whatever the case is. If that's how you feel. That's how you feel. You have the right to be offended. You have the right to be a racist asshole. Both have consequences to how you react, depending on how you react. And that's kind of, my thought on everything. But I don't know. I'm not one to get all up in arms. I typically ignore things I don't like, or I'll read about it and then I move on. Sorry for that weird tangent. I don't know how we got to that point. Again, sleep talking. This is how I do. Randomness, things pop in my head as I'm working on things out. That's why I picked the name of the podcast. But let's move on to the music section of this. I got some fun things I want to talk about. At least they're fun for me. Working on this. I will talk about some new music in a second, but I want to talk about this T-Pain interview on the Pull Up with Joe Budden. If you haven't watched the Pull Up with Joe Budden, he does this YouTube series. I think it's on YouTube only. I don't know. It might be on other things, but he does this YouTube series where he interviews different people. I think most of them are in the music industry, but I could be wrong about that. You might have to double check me. But at first he had like multiple people on there. They talked about music, different topics and things like that. And then now I think he's doing solo one-on-one interviews with people. And this week he had T-Pain on there. And I really liked this episode, mostly because I was a T-Pain fan, or I am a T-Pain fan. I like a lot of the music he's done and still does do. And in this episode, they were just talking. And the thing that I found interesting was they were talking about selling your catalog. This is towards the end of the episode. The episode's like an hour and 20 minutes. So towards the end of the episode, that's the part you want to focus on, but it was just a good episode in general. Anyways, T-Pain was talking about selling his catalog. He was like, I think it was, the way it was set up was Joe Budden asked about The Dream selling his catalog for like $23 million, which sounds like a lot of money, especially when you don't have it. T-Pain and him were, doing it back and forth, and I found it interesting that T-Pain said at one time, a couple years ago, someone offered him like $6 million for his catalog. And I was just thinking about it as an artist and a musician. If someone offered it to me now, at the stature that I'm at now, I would take something like that. If I was T-Pain, I feel like, I don't know if you can still perform those songs when you sell your catalog, or I don't know how that works, or if you're paying them for the use of your songs. But I wouldn't sell my music, especially someone that had as many hits as he did, especially from like 2005 until 2010. He was just like killing the hook game with all the songs that he was doing. I wouldn't sell my catalog for that, for $6 million. I think he's made more than $6 million over those years for me to feel that it was justified to even take that kind of money. Now The Dream, on the other hand, is a different situation. I only know of The Dream to have one album. If he has more than one album, news to me. But I do know The Dream has wrote a bunch of songs with other people or for other people, and I don't know if those are included in his catalog. From the way they were making it sound like in this interview, that The Dream sold his catalog, but only The Dream is a solo artist, and for that was a good deal. Apparently he's got a writing partner. I don't remember the guy's name, but none of those songs were necessarily included into this deal that he sold. And I found that amazing. Like, if you're on that side of if you beat the industry on a technicality, like, oh, you want to buy my music? Sure, you can have my music that I've created. And you're saying like that's your solo music. You're not getting the access to all the collaborations with all the other people because of whatever reason, and you still have access, and those collaborations are bigger creations. Like in the Dreams case, he's got a lot of songs with Rihanna. He's got a lot of songs that he's done with Beyonce. So these are really big artists that are constantly making money, constantly being licensed, whatever the case is. So if he sold this publishing for his solo catalog of just the things of his album, they might make a little bit of money, but I don't think it's worth the same amount of money as if he would have sold the parts to the Beyoncés, Rihannas, and everybody else's that he's worked with since then. So, I don't know. I would check out the interview. I thought it was pretty good. I thought that was it was funny because they were cracking up at the end of that episode because of the technicality that was going on. If that's true, hats off to the Dream. He's the real MVP for winning that. New music this week. Again, I hate that I'm constantly talking about just hip-hop and R&B, but it's what I listen to mostly. I mean, it is what it is. But Queen Naija, she's been making her rounds on like Hot 97, Breakfast Club, and whatever. If you're a YouTube fan, you might have seen her and her upcoming on that. But Queen Naija's album came out. It's a self-entitled album. It's more of an EP, if you ask me. It's only got like 7 tracks on it. I like her voice. Pretty good. She's done pretty good on the album, if you ask me. I personally think it's a little short for my taste. I'm more of like, I need 10 tracks or more per album, like 40 minutes worth of content personally, but that's just my personal preference. But anyway, she's a really good singer, R&B singer. I recommend it if you're looking for some new R&B to listen to. I check her out. For all my old hip hop fans, the ones that have been around since the 90s, if you guys like NORE, I forget what was his Noriega, and I forget what the group NORE used to be in. But anyways, Noriega, whatever you want to call him. New album, 5E, has dropped. It's very 90s hip-hop, the boom bap, East Coast sound is there. The thing I find interesting is that he is on the same label. I don't know if Nas owns the label exactly, like he's the owner of the label, or if he's just a part owner, or how that works. But apparently it's Nas's label, and he's on there, released this album. And I just find that interesting because NORE and Nas had problems in the past, but now they're working together. Just, I guess it's similar to the Jay-Z and Nas situation, but they released 5E. I personally like it. I don't like it in the sense that I've never been a big NORE fan, but listening to it, it's very reminiscent of the 90s East Coast sound. It's not a new updated sound. It's very East Coast sounding, rapping, gangster bars, talking about shootouts and things like that. So if you're into that, definitely check that out. The homie Frost Money asked me about this Fat Joe Mama song. He said it sounded like a Sleepy J track, so I had to check it out. And I have to say right now, my favorite song that I am listening to is called Mama by Fat Joe, Dre, and Big Sean. And if you go check this out, I think it just progressively gets better and better with every verse as it goes. So it starts out with Fat Joe. Fat Joe comes in. He's spitting. He's killing it. Dre comes in, slows it down a little bit, gets his little bars off, and then Big Sean does clean up perfectly. If you don't know who Dre is, he's the second part of Cool and Dre, the producing group from the early mid-2000s. I think that's whenever most people heard a lot of Cool and Dre. But I personally think it's one of the best tracks out right now. One of my favorites. Very, very rapidy rap right now for me. So that's my recommendations for this week. If you guys want to get a hold of me, please tweet me at sleep_E_J. Follow me on Instagram at sleep, the letter E, the letter J, all one word. Hashtag Sleep Talking Podcast. Please tweet me, get at me, DM me. If you guys are looking for beats, please hit me up. let me know what you're looking for. I'll try and cook something up. Right now, I'm doing like personal placements, working with a few artists that want those custom beats. We're working out deals. So if that's something you're interested in, please hit me up. Let me know that's what you want. Things to look forward to. I think I'm going to get in front of my camera soon. I want to do a video talking about what I've been up to, things like that. I'm considering maybe I'll start recording my podcast visually too, since I do upload these on YouTube. I don't know if that something you guys want from me, to see video of me talking into this microphone and interviews with people. If that's something you want, please let me know that's what you guys want. Also, go to my Facebook page, Sleep Talkin Podcast. Hit that like button. That way you know when all these are being uploaded if you're not subscribing. But if you could subscribe, if you guys could leave comments, let me know what you guys are liking, what you're not liking, what you guys want to see, hear from me. Please go to all my fan pages and Sleepy J page on Facebook, my Sleep Talkin page at Facebook, my Twitter, my IG. Drop comments, likes, subscriptions. Let me know you're listening. I'm seeing the numbers grow. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys, and I'm sending you guys out with peace, love, positivity, lights, and prayers. And until next time, guys, take it easy. I salute you guys.